Woo! So here we are on this beautiful but noisy day in this strange locale, just more or less beside Great George's Street meets Dame Street, and behind me is this marvellous, this curious surrealist icon in a city itself notably surreal. I refer of course to the Why Go Bald sign. Now for some years I used to put this sign to use that perhaps the average citizen would not spring perhaps to the average citizen's mind. The average citizen gazing at it would associate it with the universal hair studio behind, and with recession that we're all encountering these days. I used to utilise it in the 70s and 80s as a place for secondary meeting, when I would make the acquaintance of a young lady in a bar. On the second occasion it was necessary for me to meet her elsewhere. Traditionally, one might have said, why not under Cleary's clock? Well, there were several reasons not to do that. One was there would be another 11 people under Cleary's clock anxiously looking at their own timepieces and comparing that time with the time provided. The other disadvantage, of course, was that you might fall into conversation with one of these characters. And the third was that the hands of Cleary's clock did nothing except tediously go around, which usually took an hour. So I chose, as a location for a second meeting with a young lady, beneath the Why Go Bald sign. Now the Why Go Bald sign, as you probably didn't see just now, tells an interesting story. This little scenario features a rather glum-looking young man who's sort of bald as an egg, and he is transformed by the magic dancing neon and the electricity, by a process of magic, into an extremely luxuriantly heard smiling Romeo. It occurred to me that perhaps some of the magic of this sign might enter my own soul, and so I frequently stood underneath it consulting my own watch, in the hope that I too would be transformed from a glum, if not bald, young man into a smiling, handsome Romeo. Whether or not this was the true run of the events, I had several successes, and I would generally spirit away the young lady in question to a nearby hostelry, as it might be the Stag's Head, which, as you know, is but a week's throw from this locale. Now, another spot popular in those days was called Larry Tobin's, now called the Duke, a bar situated in Duke Street. And the joy of this locale was that it was full of other young people like art students and sometimes rock and rolling people and often actors, and sometimes you'd see Bob Geldof in there, and other times you'd see, as it might be, Phil Lynott in there. And this was always of great interest to young ladies and persons of that kind. So I had a bit of a success there one night with a young lady, and as a result, it occurred to me that I would celebrate this in verse. Hence my poem, Beneath the Why Go Bald sign. Well, Beneath the Why Go Bald sign has been criticised adversely in that it has been held by some critics that it too much resembles Yeats's poem Down by the Sally Gardens. Well, of course, Yeats got that from a street song, so I had no compunction in taking these, well, the manner at any rate from Yeats. Beneath the Why Go Bald sign, my love and I did meet. We watched the Why Go Bald sign flash electric in the sleet. She bade me give her money, moving pictures for to see, but I was impecunious, and with her could not agree. At the bar of Larry Tobin, my love and I did drink. She crossed the faded carpet in a little skirt of pink. She bade me take it easy as the barmen drew the beers. They laughed. They knew I hadn't drawn a sober breath in years. The last line, of course, is complete fiction. At any rate, I was sorry to hear the other day that Bono, the singing man, has also selected this wonderful icon as his favourite Dublin landmark. But despite that, I still like it. I still love it, and I still love, especially when it's on and flashing in the evening, to pass by it en route to my new local, generally alone these days, alas, and that would be Grogan's Bar, the Castle Lounge in South William Street. And sometimes I'm sorry to say that an importunate young fellow, often an American, will come along and tap me on the shoulder and say to me, "What's your sign, man?" And I reply as ever, "Why, it is the Why Go Bald sign in South Great George's Street. Long may its illumination lend joy to this wonderful city."